In this video, I'm going to show you how to paint a Stormtrooper for Star Wars Legion. Let's get going with this Stormtrooper. So the first thing I want to really make apparent is how important it is to get a good prime on this mini. So once you've cleaned all the mold lines off, I've primed this with grey cere, and then I put Corax White over the top from kind of a 45-degree angle to give me a zenithal prime. You can use any light grey and white primer, but the reason I've done that is because I want to get a little bit of shading into the white with the base rather than having to rely on painting it in. So the first thing we're going to do is just take some Abaddon Black. We're going to paint in all the black joints, so basically all the soft bits of armour on the Stormtrooper. Now take your time doing this because you really want to avoid getting this anywhere near the white armour. If you do get some on there, don't worry too much. You can just use some Corax White to go in and repair where you may have overspilt. But obviously the more care you take at this point, the less you have to worry about going back in later on and tidying up, because it just adds that bit more time onto your paint job. Now this is going to be a really straightforward and simple job, so it shouldn't take too long to get an entire squad done. And don't forget, we're also going to do the blaster in the Abaddon Black as well. And you don't have to use Abaddon Black, you can use whatever black you've got. Just make sure you thin it down a little bit. It may take a couple of coats in some places. And if you're not sure which bits need to be black, then just have a look at the box art, have a look at the source material online, watch the films, whatever you need to do. So I'm going to carry on finishing in the rest of this black, all the soft panels and the blaster, and then when we come back we'll have a little look at getting this white armour up to scratch for one of the Imperial Stormtroopers. Once you've finished popping everything in with that black lining, if you do need to go over some bits to repair with some Corax White, then feel free to do so. The next thing we're going to do is we're going to take some Apothecary White contrast paint, and really straightforward. All we're going to do is just going to paint all the white armour with this Apothecary White. So all we're doing is just working all the way around the white bits of armour, and then what will happen as the contrast paint dries, it'll kind of pull it into some of the recesses. So don't be afraid to slather it on a bit. We're going to go in and kind of highlight it afterwards anyway, so just work your way around the model. Make sure you get a good amount, especially where you've got kind of these panels. And then let that dry for a good while before coming back and trying to paint any other parts of the model. This is why it's good you do like 5 or 6 at a time, or if you've got the core box set for Star Wars Legion, you might want to do all of them at the same time, so all 12 Stormtroopers. So I'm going to finish the rest of this guy off cam, we'll let it dry, we'll come back and we'll have a look at getting the armour almost finished, not quite finished. I've got a special trick for the last part of the armour, but we need to go through this step first, so get it all done and then we'll come back and we'll have a look at the next stage. Now that Apothecary White is dried, we're going to highlight the white armour. Now I'm using white scarf for this, but again you can use any white paint. And what you want to do is, where you can, is use the design of the model just to move the brush across, because that gives you a much sharper edge than trying to paint something yourself. So you get that white scar on there, and this will just make the armour pop that little bit, because it's a brighter white, a pure white, whereas the initial white coats were probably a kind of like a grey rather than a white. Just going to work this on, and this is probably going to be the most time consuming part of the model, but it's worth it because it does give you a really nice effect. And again, if you're painting these in batches, so you've got quite a lot of them on the go at once, you can just kind of power through. Really nice effect. So you can kind of see there where this is going. in terms of giving us that brighter white colour scheme, because I guess the armour is kind of like a plasteel or plastic type effect, and I'll show you how to get a really good sheen on it as kind of the last step we do. So we've got the helmet as well, so we've got the kind of the eyes, and we've got the shape of the helmet there. So work your way all the way around the model, all those high points of white, get them highlighted, and then when we come back we'll have a look at highlighting the black. With that white highlight, the armour's looking really great, so let's highlight the black. And for this I'm using Mechanicus standard grey, which is essentially a really dark grey, and very similar to how we did the white armour. Where we can, we're going to use the shape of the sculpt to help us get a nice hard line. And don't worry if you accidentally go wrong, like I probably put that on a little thick there. The beauty is just go back with a little bit of black afterwards and tidy it up a little, and that'll look absolutely fine. So we've got the holster to do, we've got the hand as well. On this side, so we're just drawing lines where the fingers are on the thumb, and then we've got the kind of dark bit across the helmet, so we're just going to take that dark grey around that black bit there, and we're going to do exactly the same on the blaster. So we're just going to run the brush along it, and it'll pick up all those nice edges for us and make it really easy to get a nice effective edge highlight. Okay, so I'm just going to check back across the model, catch any little bits I've missed, and we'll come back and we'll do the shoulder pad, and the Stormtrooper's pretty much done. Once we've finished up with the black highlighting, let's move on to the shoulder pad. So I'm going to use XV88, which is kind of like a dark ochre colour, and what you might find is that you have to do 2 thin coats of this. So we'll just get the first coat on, let it dry, and then we'll come back and see if we need to do any more. Obviously be really careful where you've already finished some of your paint jobs. So I'm going to let that dry. Obviously I'm going to finish off underneath, let it dry, and we'll pop a second coat on off cam. We'll come back, highlight it, and I think we're pretty much done. We're just about there. Once that Tau XV88 is dry, I'm just going to use a little bit of Agrax Earth Shade, which is kind of a brown wash. You might have army painted dark tone, and I just want to move that in that area there, just under the helmet, just to create a little bit of shadow. You don't need to put it anywhere else, but just pop it in there, let that dry, we'll highlight it, and then we'll just finish up the armour, and the Stormtrooper is done. Just to highlight the shoulder pad, just going to use some Tau Light Ochre, which is kind of like more of a traditional ochre colour, I guess. And I'm just going to pull that along the edge there, just like that. So that's really nice simple step for you to kind of finish this off and just give it a nice highlight. And same around the front as well, just like that. Perfect. So let that dry. Once that's dry, we'll come back and we're going to make this white armour just pop a little bit, so it's really representative of how the Stormtrooper armour looks. And to do that, we're going to use some gloss varnish. So we're just going to take a little bit of gloss varnish, not too much. You don't want to flood the brush with gloss varnish, and we're just going to paint this over just the white armour only. So you don't want to get this over the black parts, the soft parts. If you do, it's not the end of the world. Just take a little bit of matte varnish and pop it over there. This is a really nice straightforward step that just obviously seals the model and protects it if you're going to be handling it whilst you're gaming, but more importantly it gives you that shine, that plastic look that the Stormtrooper armour has. So just take your time, work your way around all the white armour. Make sure you don't miss any, but again, if you do, it's not the end of the world. Once it's all dried, you'll be able to see quite clearly if you have missed anything. You can go back and add a little more gloss varnish on there. So I'm going to finish up painting this gloss varnish on. As with every model, I recommend obviously that you base it to match the rest of your force. So if you've got an Endor force, you might want to put some forest base. If they're the chaps from Tatooine, you might want to give it a little bit of a desert base. Entirely up to you, your call, they're your models, do them the way that you like. So I'll finish this off, I'll base him off screen, and we'll come back and finish up. So there we have it, this Stormtrooper is complete and ready for the battlefield. It's a really quick and easy technique. I really hope you've enjoyed the video. If you have, please leave a like and a comment down below. I really appreciate all your support. If you'd like to see more Star Wars Legion videos, then just let me know. All my recommended equipment is in the description, and if you want to help support the channel, you can do so by using the Goblin Gaming link, where you can get up to 20% off any Star Wars Legion sets. Thanks again for watching. I'll see you next time.